Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Delray Beach's special meeting scheduled for Tuesday, January 16th, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. Please call the roll.
Mr. Frankel?
Present.
Mr. Long?
Present.
Mr. Boylston?
Here.
Ms. Burns?
Here.
Mayor Petrolia?
Here. We have one discussion item, and this is the selection for a firm to provide the internal auditing services. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So at this time, the special meeting purposes, as Mayor Petrolia stated, for purposes of interviewing internal audit firms interested in working with the City of Delray Beach in this regard. Given the associated formalities, it would be best to introduce Purchasing Manager Peggy Cadeau, who will facilitate the presentation so that the Mayor and City Commission can offer their consideration and guidance accordingly. Ms. Cadeau, if you would, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, City Commissioners. I am Peggy Cadeau, the Purchasing Manager. The City advertised a request for proposal number 2023-064 for internal auditor services for an initial 3-year term with 2 one-year optional renewals. The RFP was advertised on the City website utilizing an electronic procurement platform, Periscope S2G, and the City received 9 submittals. The evaluation committee evaluated the proposals based on the following criteria: demonstrated relevant experience with similar audit engagement and references, a maximum of 30 points, staff qualification and experience, maximum of 25 points, audit approach and methodology, maximum of 25 points, and price fee proposal, maximum of 20 points. On November 13th, 2023 and December 1st, 2023, the evaluation committee completed its review and the submittals and made the following recommendation of ranking of the shortlisted firms. Plant Moran, PLLC, with a maximum score of 272, top ranked firm, number 1. Carr Riggs and Ingram, LLC, with a maximum score of 265, ranked number 2. And the EFPR Group, Florida, CPAS, PLLC, with a maximum score of 256, third ranked firm. The purpose of this special meeting is to provide the City Commission an opportunity to view the shortlisted firms' presentations and reveal the final preferred firm from the commissioners based on their independent proposal review, oral presentation interviews, and the provided opportunity for discussion amongst the commissioners in today's meeting. In this special meeting, the City Commission shall rank the proposals received in order of preference, the number 1 being the most preferred through the number 3 being the least preferred, representing the least preferred, of course, and of the shortlisted firms. The third ranked firm, EFPR Group, Florida CPAS, PLLC, has elected not to participate in today's meeting. For the special meeting, each firm will have, if needed, up to 10 minutes for presentations. The City Clerk will, Madam City Clerk, will be the timekeeper. However, vendors should be monitoring their presentation time as well. Proposing firms are free to address or clarify any issues the commissioners should consider, as long as you limit the presentation to the time allotted. Presentations will be followed by an unlimited question and answer time period by the City Commission. At least one member of the vendor's presentation team should have the authority to bind the company, as vendors' answers may impact the evaluation and scoring for today's meeting. The order of presentation has been determined by utilizing a random list generator of the firm's names. The order of presentation is as follows. The first firm presenting today will be Carr Riggs and Ingram, LLC. The second firm will be presenting is Plant and Moran. Right now, we'll go ahead and open the floor up for the first firm to go ahead and get set up, and that would be Carr Riggs and Ingram, LLC, at this time.
So before I get started, I do have a question. We'll do the best we can. It was communicated to us that we'd have the same amount of time for presentation as we did for the orals, which was 15 minutes.
Right, and I think there was some confusion there. It's just 10 minutes for the special meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll just go through it, and
Yes.
if you're ready to ask questions, we'll be happy to do that.
No worries.
Okay. All right. Do it
Can
before
can I, a point of order here, just ask, we have until 5 o'clock. So if there's an extra 5 minutes that the gentleman needs, I'm okay with that. If everybody else is here, we're
Yep.
good with you doing your presentation
you.
as you came prepared to
We
do.
appreciate that.
You got it. Thank you very much for mentioning that, because I know that sometimes we do get short on time, and
Yes.
we try to do that, but we've got the time today.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we do have a hard copy handout, if that's okay.
Hand it to the clerk, and she'll pass it out. Thank
Okay.
you.
Get enough there. That's more if you need it.
No, both of us are on the computer, didn't bring it, so works for me. Thanks. Yeah, that's the backup in the.
And then one more question. Am I advancing the slides or someone else? Is this it right here? Okay. Let me just, if I can test this out first. Okay. Backwards. Okay. Do the lay of the land here. Thank you for your indulgence. Okay, ready to
You're all
start.
set.
All right. Well, good afternoon. We do thank you for the opportunity to express why we believe we're the firm of choice to provide these services to you. Just by way of introduction, here with us today, some key members of the team, including myself as well as Yvonne Claiborne and Kayla Spellman, who will each be speaking to the particular way in which they'll serve in providing these services to you. Just as a point of note, this team itself has worked on multiple internal audit engagements together. So it's not like we've just come together, very familiar, we work out of the same office, and we work on multiple assignments together. Here's the overall project team structure, and you can see on here how the structure is laid out. I am the engagement partner, and there's a brief description of each of the roles. I think one of the things to emphasize is the fact that the assigned project team, these are all the folks that will be driving the engagement throughout, from planning to delivery. These are the people that will be involved in the engagement. And again, we work often together. Each team member now will speak about their respective roles and the differentiating expertise, skill set, and experience that each of us bring to the table. As I said, I will be your engagement partner, leading the services, leading the team. Over 30 years now, I've performed both external audits as well as internal audits. But in the last 10 plus years, I've spent all of my time in the space of public sector, cities, counties, school districts, doing nothing but internal audit services, risk assessments, compliance type work, operational audits, you name it. I am a CPA and also a certified construction auditor. I have served on the various committees of the FGFOA the past 7 years. The committee in particular that selects the topics that you will go to, that your finance people and others will go to earn their credits, their CP credits for their CPA. I myself have presented many times, done many presentations in terms of internal audit topics, risk and control topics, construction audits at various of the FGFO conferences. I will be readily available to work on site as needed, as well as working as a hybrid method, whatever best suits the city in terms of performance of the services. I will be the primary contact and have the overall responsibility for ensuring your satisfaction with our work, any coordination with the city, in terms of any scoping that's worked out, and doing the work, reviewing the work, and then doing the final, presenting the final deliverables, and also doing the final presentations. Now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Yvonne Claiborne.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Claiborne. I'm going to serve as the quality control partner, which means I provide needed technical advice to the team as they request, and I perform what's called a second partner or a quality control review of every internal audit deliverable. I have the bulk of my career has been in working in the public sector, working with state and local governments. I have a diversified background in both external and internal audits, which brings a different perspective to the the project. I'm combining this experience with my private industry experience, where I worked as a comptroller in the private sector, which enhances my ability to perform internal audits because I have the knowledge of both sides of the coin. My specialization certifications with the AICPA, they include the Certified Information Technology Professional, an Advanced Single Audit Specialist. I'm deeply connected in the public sector industry, and I recently served as the chair of the FICPA State Legislative Policy Committee, and I serve as a liaison between the FICPA and identified legislators. And with this, I'll turn it over to Kayla.
Good afternoon. I'm Kayla Spellman. I am a senior audit manager with CRI, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you today. Similar to Yvonne, I've been involved in audit and risk management in a lot of different roles. I have experience in public accounting. I used to work for the Florida Auditor General. I've worked in internal audit, and I've also worked at the Office of the Inspector General for a state university. So with all of these work experiences, I have a more broad perspective and a more diverse skill set that I can bring to the work. So I do IT audit, I do financial, contracts and grants compliance, and business process improvement. So I can partner with you to identify and address your specific risks wherever they lie and use those to meet your organizational goals. A little bit about our firm. We're a top 25 U.S. firm. We're regional with a large presence in the south and southwest of the U.S. And we have a lot of depth in key industries that are relevant to the city, like the public sector, healthcare, education, and construction. In addition to CRI as a firm, we also have a family of portfolio companies which bring even more expertise and deep specialization to the table. For instance, AuditWorks performs PCI compliance audits, and so we have that resource to draw on for our work as well. Now we're going to just kind of move into going through some of the elements of our proposal, starting with the risk assessment and the internal audit plan. Our internal audit process, whether we're generating an audit plan or we're working on a standalone engagement, is going to be very much risk-driven, and that is going to start with our risk assessment. So in developing an audit plan for the city, we're going to understand the city, the organizational culture, and the overall control environment. We're also going to be gathering information from management and the key decision makers to get an understanding about their concerns. And this is one of the most important steps in that process because the management and the process owners really understand where the risks lie in their own processes. We're going to be identifying existing and emergent risks to the city, which can be compliance, regulatory, financial, reputational, IT, employee safety. You know, there's a big universe of things that we consider when we're doing the audit plan. We're going to quantify the magnitude of that risk exposure and then bring everything together to prioritize the risks and propose an audit plan that efficiently and effectively addresses those risks. In developing this audit plan, we're really trying to help you use the available resources in the best way for your organization. And one of the key areas for consideration in risk assessment is IT and cybersecurity risk. As you can see, our firm has specialists with IT audit and cybersecurity experience and certifications and credentials for the most purely technical IT audit engagements. And we've performed IT and cybersecurity audits and control assessments for many public sector entities. But I think it's important to acknowledge that IT and cybersecurity risk is relevant in every engagement. And we're always considering IT risk and the broad impact it has when we do the work. So the whole CRI team is going to be having a solid grounding in IT and cybersecurity concepts, not just our IT specialists. And we're going to bring that expertise and consideration of those issues to every engagement. Back to Yvonne.
So as you can see, the public sector is one of the largest industry lines served by our firm, especially in Florida. We have a lot of Florida offices, and we're keyed in with Florida governments. We have active leadership roles on the FICPA, like I spoke about. We participate in the State and Local Government Committee, the State Legislative Policy Committee, because what's happening to our clients is happening to all of us. And we have CRI partners that serve both on the Board of Directors, and I'm on the FICPA Council this year. We have active roles in the FGFOA. We have community involvement, or committee involvement with technical resources, with the annual conference planning. Again, we're committed to this industry, and we are frequent speakers on a variety of topics at these conferences. We have public sector specialists throughout the firm and at the corporate level to make sure we have the support for just about any situation. And then as an example, when ARPA came about, and as you remember, it was just kind of like a flood of money and not a whole lot of information. And so we identified a team within our firm that they're everything ARPA experts, and they learned everything. They read the FAR, they read all the rules. They were the experts. They trained the rest of us, and they're there as a resources for our team members as well as for our clients. So we have a full range of services. We're a full service public accounting firm. So this is just a broad brush of the services that we provide. But being a full service TPA firm, a lot of times we'll get clients that call us, our government clients, and they'll have a question about local taxes. We have that tax department, we have those tax specialists, and we have those resources to make sure we can help our clients on any questions they have. And as you can see from this slide, our dedication to providing quality services in this industry can't be matched. We have a quality control process that we're very proud of. It's very robust. We pride ourselves in the results of our audits, making sure we're helping our clients improve the effectiveness of your controls, improve the efficiency of your processes, and ensure compliance with rules and regulations, and ultimately help you save or recover monies. Our goal is to make sure you're providing services to your constituents in an efficient and fiscally responsible manner. We have extensive experience in auditing the government entities like we've been talking about. And CRI as a firm provides audit and consulting and attestation services to over 300 government entities, many of which are in Florida. 18 counties, 34 municipalities, 18 school districts, and about 75 special districts. Rob?
Thank you, Yvonne. One of the things that we're asked to provide would be examples of operational savings. It was asked to us by the selection committee as part of our oral presentation to them. You can see here's just a few examples of the types of savings we've been able to achieve through our procedures. There are examples of six-figure type savings and even into the million multiples in terms of from the results of our procedures over the years. In the vast majority of cases, the return to our clients exceeds the fees paid by many times over. So here, I'm not going to go through all this, obviously, in the interest of time, but here is a detailed presentation of what our standard approach and work plan is to each individual internal audit. First phase, understanding. You can't do anything unless you understand the process, understand the risk, speak to the stakeholders, get a really good understanding of what they understand about the process because they're the ones doing it every day. From that, we develop our testing procedures, looking at the risks associated with that, develop our test scripts, and do some detailed transaction testing to identify potential gaps, opportunities for improvement. Benchmarking is also part of this process, which then results in the final report. And in that report, we deliver a series of observations, recommendations to help, and then we work collaboratively with management to help facilitate an actionable response plan. If it's not actionable, practical, affordable, it doesn't do much good for the city to be able to implement our recommendations. In phase 4, it really takes place throughout the process. Communication is key to that whole process. We are a national firm, but also we are local to this area. We have offices throughout Florida, 22 offices, including Stuart. We ourselves come from Melbourne office. It takes about 2 hours to get here. And we can be here as quickly as needed to go to attend meetings in person and to be able to provide any local assistance as needed to make sure to effect the efficient completion of the audits. We do believe we have a competitive advantage. Again, as a national firm, we bring all the resources we've already talked about throughout the presentation. You can see a list of the diversified team that we have, from IT auditors to forensic accountants. We have all these specialists to draw from. At the same time, this team before you is heavily experienced and skilled in the internal audit services. So you're still getting those specialized services with respect to the scope of work being the internal audit services, and that's locally sourced. And we really like to bring a collaborative approach. Sure, we identify the findings, observations, that needs to be objective and independent in that regard. That's critical. But once we identify those and vet the accuracy of those with management, then we work collaboratively to bring solutions. Oftentimes in that collaborative session, we work together to bring about what is the most proactive way, the most helpful way to incorporate process improvements and to bring greater efficiency to the city. Why CRI? Well, hopefully by now we've made our case. We do believe we are the firm of choice. Partners, myself and Yvonne and Senior Manager Kayla, heavily involved in this. We believe when it comes to internal audit, it requires those with more experience and expertise to bring to the table in order to help you. We've been very successful at co-sourcing and outsourcing models with many other clients. And again, we have what we believe a knowledgeable team with deep expertise, very specific to the scope of services that you were looking for. And so you will be a most valuable client to us, and we do believe we want to be your go-to service firm. Thank you.
Well, you did that with 23 seconds to spare. Good
Oh, wow.
for you.
like I planned it.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right, so we're at the questions section, so we'll turn to the commission for any questions or concerns, or you want to start with Vice Mayor?
Sure.
Great.
No concerns really. I appreciate you taking the time to jump in and dive into some of those areas of expertise, especially in the IT arena. That has been a big focus for us. Matter of fact, our team just won an award not that long ago. My question would be if you have an example of a project that you worked on with the municipality where you either significantly reduced risk or saved money or created some form of efficiency that didn't exist.
Sure. So I'm going to go back just so you have it in front of you. Slide where I had some examples on there.
There you go.
Okay. So here's some examples to your point. So in the first, and I obviously went through it quickly in interest of time.
Sure.
But since you're asking me, in the first one, what we did was that dealt with a large construction project. And a big part of the risk is the contract itself. And so one of the things we did to really talk about reducing the risk was going through that contract and essentially plugging what we call kind of the holes that puts into place compensating clauses to prevent charges from happening to the city, or to have clauses in there that they can use in order to identify costs that really they're not allowable and they should get that money back. And that's the result of that $535,000 returned to the city. Going through those pay applications, those monthly bills, and going through and saying this is not properly supported or this is not allowable per the contract. And that was real money that got returned to the city. So that's one example.
Wow.
Yeah, there are others up there. I can go on, but that's one example.
Yeah, if you could give us one other example, that would be great.
Sure. So I think one that's it's an annuity one. It's ongoing is number 3. Here, where we have a number of school districts where they have long-term CIP construction programs.
Sure.
And so in those cases we'll audit every single major project, which is interesting. So they know the audit's going to happen. So the contractor, we're going to come in, we're going to look at their costs, just like I said, we're going to see are they allowable per the contract, are they supported by proper invoice and supporting documentation. And still, in 72% of those projects, we still get money back to the owner, even though they know it's coming and they've been audited in the past. And so, and that's resulted in that's just one example of the $175,000, but that's resulted in millions over the years. So that's another example.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Burns?
No, I had one question, but I'll pass. But thank you for your presentation. I read it, the information, and no questions.
Okay.
All right, very good. Commissioner Frankel?
Thank you. And one quick question. As someone who just drove from Martin County, it was only an hour, thank God. You do say you come from Stewart, but you have offices that are closer. Why would you all be handling it from 2 hours away when you had colleagues that are closer?
good question. So yeah, so we're based in Melbourne, which is, it's 2 hours away, because we all have specializations. And so in terms of the internal audit team, who has most of the experience doing these audits, we're based in Melbourne, whereas our Stewart folks mostly do external audits. So that's why we have that specialization.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Yeah.
and I appreciate the presentation from you three.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks.
Deputy Vice Mayor?
No questions, but great presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. First of all, I guess I'm trying to figure out how we work this. Is it on a per audit need basis that we're hiring you, or are we hiring you for a fee? Because I don't see that, so I just wanted to kind of understand, with all of this availability of all these different things, we could go to town, but
Yeah.
I just was wondering, what does this really actually include, and is it on a per audit basis, or
Right.
whatever we need you for?
Right. Excellent question. So the way the RFP was structured is they wanted to get a price.
Mm-hmm.
With internal audit, usually with internal audits, when we propose on, they don't ask for a price, they just ask for rates.
Yeah.
Because of the flexibility, the
Sure,
scalability.
because we don't need you 24/7.
Right.
And we may not need you half the year, but then all of a sudden, the end of the year, we need you constantly.
Exactly.
Right.
It's an excellent point. So we can do, I've done anywhere from, as little as one internal audit a year for a smaller city out on the West Coast, to, we have some clients we do 8 to 10 internal audits a year, and all in between. So obviously, so to put a price on that, and so the RFP, the way it's chosen to be done was, they just said, well, give us a price for 4 audits
Okay.
and a risk assessment, and so okay, so we did that, and so we came up with a price based upon that. But again, that's still based upon, you heard about the scoping of a project. So in other words, we have audits that are small as it could be $15,000, $20,000 to do an internal audit. We have some that could be $45,000, $50,000. It all depends upon, right, how complex, how extensive you want to do an audit. If you want to look at the entire HR function and all these different moving parts, it might be higher. Versus if you want to just focus it on one particular program or area. So that's why it's a little bit difficult. So we priced it based upon our experience, and it's more of an average. So if you look at our pricing, it averages out to about $32,000 per audit on average. But again, that's just an average of a very it's very scalable. So if you have a budget and you come back and say our budget is, let's say our price, is $120,000, and you say, well, our budget this year is $100,000. We say, okay, we'll scale the audits what you need. We'll work within that budget, and we'll meet your needs that way. So it's very scalable. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, but it doesn't really, I don't know how we make that work here. I understand that you were asked to do something that's, I think, very different than what I would imagine an auditing firm would be asked to do. It would be kind of like on a rate type basis in order to be able to truly get a gauge as to how you differ. And I would imagine that some of your rates would be lower if it doesn't require a lot of the skilled resources,
Right.
and versus those that are not. But a range would have been, kind of more understandable, because, I mean, we've had an auditor here before. It was a single person working, and it was just based on when we called her in and needed something. So it was not continuous, like an annual amount of money to be able to be here, because again, sometimes we didn't need her much, and other times we needed her a
Right.
lot.
So maybe just to answer that question more
Sure.
directly, maybe I
Okay.
can answer that. So yeah, you would have a budget to work with, but if
Right.
let's say you had a budget, you just had it put in there as a commission, you said it's going to be $100,000, whatever
Right.
it is.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're going to spend all that, and
Okay.
that doesn't mean we're gonna get that.
All right, so I guess
Yeah.
you've answered it then.
Okay.
It's on a per audit or per need basis that we're actually going to be paying out for the audit services.
Yeah, it's however you structure the contract,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you decide to structure it that way, like we have clients where they say this is the overall not to exceed amount.
Right.
And they might say, we want you to do this many audits. And we might have a discussion. If we come back and say, you're asking for more audits than the budget will handle, we have that discussion.
Correct.
Right? Or you might say, you know what, this is the budget, let's scope out what we can do for that. And that might be 3 audits,
Okay.
right? Because what we don't want to do is, we don't want to get in a situation where we price something just because we're trying to get it,
Sure.
and you're not getting the quality that you need.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, and we don't want you to do that either.
Right.
May I add something?
Sure.
So, in a lot of cases, like what Rob said, we get a budget and we say, okay, we come up with an audit plan, a proposed audit plan, and we present it and saying, okay, these are the ones, and we go out like 4 or 5 years and we say, okay, these are the ones we kind of see coming up in the future. And we'll say, okay, this is what we're going to do for 2024. based on the budget we have. But what happens is, and invariably something happens, and so something comes off or something comes up, and we pivot. So the audit plan itself is fairly fluid within that budget. And like I said, sometimes they just say, you know what, we don't need any of these this year, let's move those to next year, and you spend less. But we always try to make sure that we have enough flexibility within the plan that as things come up, we can pivot and make sure you get all the coverage that you need.
And Mr. Moore, what was the amount that was that we received back from this auditing firm? What was the total price?
The pricing from Carr Riggs was
Yep.
$144.
144,000?
Yes, for initial.
And that was the practically 4 audits, roughly.
And so there were 2 groups in the actual solicitation. Group
Okay.
A was the fee proposal outline, which included preparation of annual audit plan, execution of annual audit plan, submit reports with findings to the city commission, and also attend workshops with the city commission meeting as necessary in Group A. And then all that was broken down in our hourly rates for key personnel. And so again, it's more in line to what they were saying earlier, is per project. So they'll have a billable rate for the hourly stuff for the staff, the consultants that'll be on board. And then Group B, excuse me here, I just have to scroll down for a second. I believe Group B was also just additional services to the actual contract.
Group
And
B.
Those additional services, excuse me. Sorry, I don't have it memorized, but I will get it to you right now. It's just additional services not outlined in the actual proposal. I was just trying to give the mayor the exact language. It just states here, additional services not outlined in the proposal as needed for the city.
Right, okay. And so how do you determine what you're going to audit? Is that, who do you answer to, or who is the person that chooses the scope of the service and when we need it?
So that would be first and foremost as designated by you as the commissioners.
Okay.
You would determine that. You would say this is going to be the liaison with us, and that's who we would interact with.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And how many employees do you have working? I mean, I guess it would depend on what type of audit you're doing, but I mean, you have obviously people who are actually going to be working with you within your firm, is that correct? It's not just 3, but there's probably
Right.
some workers that will collect information or whatnot.
Right,
I
we
mean,
have
you
seen-
could do it with 3, don't get me wrong. We had it done with 1,
Yeah,
but
well, to your point earlier, we
Yeah.
want to leverage that work so it's not too expensive. too.
exactly. You're going to probably have people
So
who
we
do-
have
yeah.
seniors and staff,
Right.
as part of our team that do the detailed testing. Like if you think of our phases, phase 2, the detailed testing, that would be they would do a lot of that detailed testing, transactional testing
Okay.
type of thing. Yeah.
And I presume, and I was looking at when you were going through, and when I looked at this, it seemed odd to me that you had so many different, each of you has a different client base, which I thought was kind of interesting. Is it just because of the fact of your expertise in that area, and therefore you've worked in that area for that specific expertise, not necessarily always the 3 together?
Right. So we work together often on internal audit, which is what matters most here. Like Yvonne's, I always say in a prior life I did all external audit in my career because my age was there wasn't internal audit, didn't exist back then. It was all
Okay.
external audit. At any rate, and then Yvonne, she said she has done a really good mix in her case, and as does Kayla does too. So I'm, like I said, the last 10 to 15 years, I'm pretty much 100% dedicated to internal audit consulting.
Okay.
And then they're more of a mix. That's why you'll see a difference in terms of the clientele with them versus, say, compared to me. But we have worked together on multiple engagements for internal audit for this type of work. Done that together.
Okay, and then one last question. How responsive are you to, I know that you have several clients, and obviously there's probably a lot of audits going on right now, and they're needing your attention. How responsive are you to something where if it needs more of an immediate response would you make yourself available to that?
Yes, and that's one thing about the nature of internal audit consulting. You generally have more flexibility. With the external audits, there's a statutory deadline everybody has, right, Yvonne? Yes, she has to deal with that, right? So there's more flexibility there, and it'd be rare if we had 3 accounting emergencies. Like people say there's no such thing as an accounting emergency, but if we had things that needed immediate attention, we would be able to respond to that because we
Okay.
can move things around.
Very
That's
good.
the advantage of the firm the size we have. Our internal auditors are not just in Melbourne, but we have them in the Bradenton offices and across other offices, and we have some dual auditors in our office as well. So if something comes up, what you'll see happen a lot of times is it'll be an email going out saying, I've got to pull off, can somebody come in and finish this audit for me so that I can go work on this? And so it's a very supportive network of specialists throughout our state.
Very good. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you both. Thank you all very much. It
Thank
was
you.
a great presentation. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we ask for Plant Moran to present to the City Commission. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of
Good
the Commission.
afternoon.
Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to present our qualifications to serve you as your consultants and your internal auditor. So today we're going to take you through a few things about Plant Moran, just some introductions of Jennifer and myself. We're going to take you through our relevant experience, the qualifications of the team serving you, the core primary team, our approach and methodology, and some differentiating factors, some responses, some questions that the selection committee asked of us that we're looking forward to taking through with you. So, a little bit about the core team. This would be the primary team serving the city of Delray Beach. Unfortunately, Troy Snyder is participating in Plant Moran's partner sabbatical program right now. What that means is every 5 years, partners are required to take some time off, step away from the firm, recharge their batteries because they're working so terribly hard for serving their clients. And then Brian O'Neill and Holly Morgan are off on current engagements right now, traveling right now. But Jennifer and I are lucky enough to be here to help present our qualifications and to get to know you a little bit better. So Jennifer, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Good afternoon. My name's Jennifer Zanone. I'm a principal in our cybersecurity practice. I have been a career IT auditor, so I've supported clients for over 17 years performing IT general controls audits, system implementation audits, cybersecurity audits. I am a project management professional and a certified information systems auditor. I'm also a prior payment card industry assessor and also an ISO 27000 certified implementer.
Good.
Thanks, Jennifer. So, hi, I'm Matt Bowden. I'm a principal in our Risk and Accounting Advisory Services practice. So first and foremost, I am our practice's public sector lead. That means I oversee every single one of our public sector engagements, local governments, school districts, special purpose entities. I oversee all of them. I'm a certified public accountant. I'm a certified internal auditor. And I also I give back to the profession by serving on the Green Book Advisory Council. This is advising the federal government on updates to the Green Book internal control framework that they'll be using to help control, federal internal audit matters. So, a little bit about Plant Moran. So this is going to be our 100th anniversary this year. So founded in 1924, we were primarily a Midwest firm. Our core internal audit hubs are in Southfield, Michigan, Chicago, Illinois, and Denver, Colorado. Jennifer's joining me from Denver today, and I'm out of our Southfield, Michigan office. If you're familiar, it's near Detroit. So there are 3,200 professionals within our firm. It's divided into audit, tax, and consulting. Jennifer and I are here from our consulting practice, which serves all of our internal audit clients. Our core focus areas are internal control over financial reporting engagements, enterprise risk management, operational audits, as well as operations improvement audits, technology strategy, IT audits, and then special purpose engagements, specific scope engagements. So Jennifer, you going to take us through our proposed services for this particular contract?
Yes. So what we are proposing to perform for the city of Delray Beach is an annual risk assessment. So each year, we think it's very important to start each year fresh to make sure that our risk assessments reflect the core risks of the city of Delray Beach and where we're going to be focusing our efforts. So we start each year with that risk assessment, checking in to make sure those risk likelihood and impacts reflect what are current for the environment, and we use that to drive the internal audit plan. So we really believe in that risk-based internal audit plan because those risks can change, whether, I know definitely from a cybersecurity perspective, if it's like a ransomware attack or some type of payment card industry compliance issue, that can shift the perspective and also the landscape pretty significantly. And so we want to make sure that we're starting fresh each year, refreshing that assessment, and then using that to create a multi-year internal audit plan. I say multi-year because we want to make sure that we're not just addressing the audits for that year, but also potentially what do we want to table for the other years as well. After we have that multi-year internal audit plan, we will work with key stakeholders and the control owners to refine and develop what the scope of each individual auditable unit entails. And we will also include in that scoping a level of estimate. And we also make sure that we factor into our audit approach monthly meetings with those control owners. So we want to make sure that throughout the scopes of our engagements, we're not so focused on executing this plan that we're keeping our eye off of emerging risks that are developing throughout the year. So those conversations and those monthly interactions with management are very important to make sure that we know what's happening, we're really engaged with the city of Delray Beach, and we know what's happening within your organization. Lastly, we have quarterly updates that we will provide to the City Commission, so then we can keep you apprised of what the results of our findings are. Diving a little bit deeper into the risk assessment process, we start with the information that is available. So let's take a spin through the financial statements, let's take a spin through the website and all of the policies and procedures and documentation that is available, and then that kind of helps inform the scope of our risk assessment. We take a two-pronged approach to deploying the risk assessment. Some people enjoy responding to surveys. It gives them a little bit more anonymity when they're responding. We can factor in the comments that way. And then we also couple that with in-person interviews. So then we can get that in-person interaction and that feedback of what's keeping you up at night, what are you thinking about, where can we really focus our efforts this year. We combine all of that feedback into a risk assessment summary that essentially is based upon likelihood and impact to get a risk score and then use that as the basis of our risk assessment proposed plan. Typically, the risk assessment takes about 160 to 200 hours. Most of those hours, I will tell you, are at the manager level or above. So then we have people that are experienced in understanding organizational processes and risks to facilitate those conversations. Once we have the basis of that risk assessment and those results, we will group those findings into auditable units. So data security could be one auditable unit, construction could be another auditable unit. And then we want to see what were the results of that risk assessment. What are themes that are kind of coming out of those conversations and those findings? And how can we really strategically use our resources for the year to effectively address the risks that people have shared with us? And then we will prioritize the highest risk auditable units as the basis of the internal audit plan that year. We know that timing can be sensitive for some. It's never a good time for an audit, some might say. So we try to make sure that the timing of our audit is coordinated with each of the control owners. So let's not come at them during quarter close, let's not come at them during a key system implementation. Let's make sure that we have all approached this in a strategic way and that we have buy-in from the beginning on what our objectives are and how we can accomplish those together. This is an example internal audit plan. So you can see usually the audits take 4 to 6 weeks. It can take some of the audits can be performed concurrently, so they don't all have to be spread out. It just depends upon the auditable unit, the availability of that department to support that audit, and then also the resources that are provided to our team in terms of hours to perform the overall internal audit plan. But you can see here we have the core buckets of fieldwork that are reflected in blue, and then we also have the commission report dates that would follow the results of those audits. The next slide is highlighting our information technology and cybersecurity auditing team. So I am a member of that team. We have now it's actually almost 100 professionals that solely focus on cybersecurity. So I am assigned to almost all of the internal audit engagements because cybersecurity is one of the highest risk areas for any organization right now. And so we have a deep bench of cybersecurity experts. So we're not just auditors, we are pen testers, we are cybersecurity compliance professionals, we are people that actually do cybersecurity and security enhancement for a living. So we make sure that we speak IT because that is honestly one of the most critical aspects in executing an IT audit is if you can't really understand what that infrastructure of the environment is, you don't truly understand the risks of that environment. So we always partner with our internal audit departments our internal audit teams, so then we can effectively address cybersecurity risks.
So all that rolls up into our risk advisory practice, which obviously is focused on internal audit, but more importantly than that, I like to think of us as problem solvers through internal audit. And we do this through partnership with our colleagues in cybersecurity as well as our colleagues within the broader governmental practice. So this is a team of highly experienced professionals solely dedicated to serving the public sector area. And what this means is when we need deep technical expertise on something along the lines of system usage. So we have a number of clients that are operating a Tyler Munis product that they're not particularly enamored with. Well, we have former Tyler implementers that are on staff that can help them take a deep dive into their system and help resolve some of those issues and give them some fresh perspective that our municipal clients may not have inherently had on their own. Now, from an internal audit experience standpoint, we just wanted to highlight some of our recent clients. So on our presentation, there's supposed to be some red lines around our recent Florida clients right now, but we are currently serving the county of Miami-Dade, Florida, as well as the city of Gainesville, Florida, on current active internal audit engagements. And those are multi-year relationships that we've continued to serve. Actually, County of Miami-Dade since 2020 from an internal audit perspective. And our ITC governmental practice has been serving the County of Miami-Dade, I believe, since 2018. So a little bit about us from a efficiencies and cost savings, and what I like to think of as creative problem-solving standpoint. You asked us to give us some examples, and we really want to frame these up as our philosophy to embrace technology, to embrace innovation. I am the chair of Management Consulting's Practice Innovation Committee. This means we're a cross-functional group of consultants that come together to generate ideas on how to better serve our clients through emerging and disruptive technology, and then go through our defined innovation process to implement those. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of this here. We have a client that was dealing with a material weakness in financial reporting over payroll. Large organization, and their team members were not submitting their payroll timesheets timely, if not at all. This was a problem for their external audit firm because they could not rely on the controls controlling the payroll expense line item, and thus issued a material weakness. Our clients asked us to come in and help solve this issue through internal audit. We went through a couple of rounds trying to do this, what we would call the old-fashioned way, realizing that this wasn't going to work. So we deployed an robotics-based solution where we automated a prompt to reach out to each and every single one of these payroll timesheet submitters and their supervisor, prompting them to submit their timesheet, collecting it, bringing it back in for audit so that we could validate that it was done in a complete and accurate and timely fashion, and cycling that through each and every time we would do a pass, identifying those that were exceptions, and cycling through until ultimately we collected everything, or we had open exceptions that then become a kind of performance management issue with these team members and their supervisors. So the end result of this was a reduction in these missing timesheet approvals by 98% and a complete relief of the material weakness over financial reporting. Not even reduced, managed down to the level of significant deficiency, but elimination of that deficiency condition. And this is a process that we ultimately handed over to management for them to operate on a go-forward basis. Next one, just very, very quickly. So analytics through a purchasing card audit program. This identified savings of almost $90,000 for an organization, but taking a look at purchasing card activity using analytics and visualization to, may I keep going?
Yes, you can finish up.
To ultimately streamline that, and ultimately identified, this list of 10 inappropriate use of purchase card, not in alignment with policy, et cetera. And this was all automated through our analytics suite of services that we offer to our clients. So, we talked quite a bit about partnering with our colleagues in other governmental services, right? This is our one firm philosophy. This is what brings me and what brings Jennifer to you here today. We're not focused on cost centers. We're not focused on minimizing geographic distance. We are focused on bringing the best possible team to serve our clients to achieve optimal outcomes. And we're very much looking forward to adding value to the city of Delray Beach through a positive business partnership, right? Really being colleagues and partnering with one another rather than being, box checkers looking over folks' shoulders. We want to make sure that we're helping to solve problems and add and create value. We want to identify solutions, deliver those through fresh eyes perspective, and ultimately use an analytics and technology focus as the basis for each of our services. So thank you for allowing me to go a few moments over.
Sure thing.
Appreciate that. Happy to address any questions that the commission has.
To the commission, I'm going to start with the Deputy Vice Mayor now, the other end.
No questions. Again, great presentation. You guys are making this easy to choose. Thank you.
Commissioner Frankel.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the presentation. You do note Miami-Dade, obviously, very big county, is one of your clients.
Yes.
But you're in Michigan and as a Buckeye. I won't hold that against you, but
you're from Toledo. You're very close.
I am from Toledo, yes. Do you have local offices down here? How do you proceed with your Florida clients?
So we don't have local offices in Florida, but our public sector consulting practice, Florida is one of our very key strategic growth areas. So we are making investments in Florida. We will operate as if we are in Florida. It will be, of no difference not having a local office here. So, as stated kind of in the beginning when we were introducing Plant Moran, our public sector consultants, the core is from Southfield, Michigan, Chicago, Illinois, and Denver, Colorado. We have no problems jumping on an airplane and coming down and meeting with our clients down here to serve them in the best possible way.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the question.
Commissioner Burns.
Yeah, no questions, but thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And Vice Mayor.
Yes, you gave some really great examples. I was going to give you an opportunity to do the same as I gave the other applicant. But, I really, really enjoyed you diving into the benefit of how you leverage analytics and technology. I think in the example you gave where you are handing that off. And so you were able to build something for us that can then be handed off and become part of our process, and I think that's something we're absolutely looking for. Can you give me an example, because you've been around 100 years, you have a lot of clients across the country. Do you have an example of when one of your clients was able to benefit from maybe best practices from one of your other clients, or a technology or a process that you built for someone else, but someone else, another city was able to benefit from that?
Yeah, I mean that's a really great question. I mean it's a fine line. So the example I'll share is when we leverage analytics to analyze a ERP system user role security environment. And what this means is we identify areas where there are incompatible duties that are assigned in the system to one person. This creates risk of fraud, risk of error, right? You're eliminating that additional layer of review. So whenever we do these, we leverage any additional lessons learned from any given municipality into another when we're taking a look at that user role security environment, learning about any potential fraud risks or fraud schemes, or combination of duties to make sure that we're building upon that and making sure that our clients don't operate with those incompatible duties. Now, not every client is going to be the same, right? Not every one of our municipal clients operates the same ERP system, and some don't even operate the same version of that ERP system. Mm-hmm. But we are able to develop and deploy a framework approach to help optimize this analysis and ultimately optimize the resolution of these incompatible duties as we find them. Mm-hmm. And this is one that we do for many, many, many of our clients.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It does, and it supports some of the things I've read about your company in regards to your dedication to training your team members, especially when it comes to technology and empowering them to learn more. I saw a lot about AI
yes.
on your website. It's probably one of the reasons why you're again listed as one of the top 100 companies to work for. I'm sure that's a part of it. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. If I may add, during the original interview with the selection committee, we were asked a question about generative AI and what we're doing with that. So I will share just very, very briefly that as our Practice Innovation Committee Chair, we're driving our exploration of generative AI and how we can ultimately leverage it in serving our clients in a secure way that leverages ethics, data security, ensures that we're doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, we do have access to a couple of different LLMs, different frameworks where we have, we're exploring the use of generative AI, but we do not put client data into any LLM. Mm-hmm. It's just not something that we do, and we won't be doing that for the foreseeable future until we can get a better handle on the overall back-end security requirements of things like Microsoft Copilot.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
Okay, so the question I had, a couple of them, and some of them were kind of answered. What is your percentage of government to private business practice?
That's a very good question.
Do you know approximately?
I'm going to approximate it about 33%, governmental public sector to that 66% private enterprise.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, Plant Moran started the audit practice as a municipal,
government
municipal audit practice, but this was many, many years ago. But as you can imagine, it's carried forward in our roots, and it's absolutely foundational to how we serve our clients.
Great, and it seems like this to me when you were speaking about this and how you're going to go about starting the like an annual risk assessment, and then that drives to the audit internal audit report plans, mm-hmm. And so on. It seems like this is more of a contract. This is like we're going to contractually have this annual assessment, and that will drive then what audits will be taken care of. If that's kind of what, it makes sense that way, mm-hmm. Because it will obviously bring up the areas in which should be looked more into. Does make sense.
Correct.
But we've been flying bareback here for how long? It's a long time. Probably about 4 or 5 years. Okay. When I say bareback, we don't have an internal auditor.
Understood.
And the previous internal auditor, as I had mentioned earlier, was a single gal who was living local and would come in and have conversations with each of the commissioners and then take what their concerns were to doing the testing and, in the field and trying to figure out if there's reason for audit and so on, and then set in place best practices. That's kind of where we were coming from. So this is deviating almost entirely from what I was used to or what I know, and I don't fault you. I mean, this was the RFP that we sent out, so. But it's just a very different perspective, and it's also very, I would imagine, costly. What was the numbers that these guys came in at?
I have here for Plant Moran, it is $95,625, if I'm not mistaken.
$95,625?
Correct.
Okay. So who covers, when you come into town, all your expenses? That would be part of the cost of doing business in Florida, I would imagine.
It is. So we're making investments in the state of Florida. So I guess following that thread, we will be covering those expenses.
Right. We will.
No.
For Plant Moran.
Plant Moran.
Okay, so you're not going to have us, I mean, when you're coming into Florida, we won't have that expense of your flights and your stayovers and your food and all of that.
That is correct.
Okay. And the other thing that I agree with, cybersecurity is really important, and as a matter of fact, our IT team has been on that and really been doing a good job of making sure that we're all aware, and they send a lot of those test emails to see if we're willing to open them, which is really smart on their part, because I don't speak IT, so it's really hard for me to discern which is and which shouldn't be open, so most of mine don't go open. And I'll usually send it back just to make sure if I want to open it that it's okay to open. But I think cybersecurity is really, really important, and we've had some of our local municipalities attacked and successfully. So that's something that I think is important. However, I think that, it's not the only thing. Obviously, there are, the internal audits, and you all will be doing that as well. So just wanted to kind of point that out, that I appreciate the fact that that is on the top of your list. And I think that's pretty much all the questions that I had. I don't really have anything else. But thank you very much. Great presentation once again.
Thank you.
And I think that at this point in time, we're going to deliberate, yeah? Is that correct?
Yes, it's open to discussion.
Okay,
For the City
very good.
Commission.
So thank you, guys. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
And if there's any additional questions, we'll ask you.
Of course.
So who would like to start?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Yep.
I think what I really like about this direction is the success we've had with our partner when it comes to lobbying. We have a large firm. It is outside of City Hall, and therefore it doesn't bring that political element that comes with lobbying, right? Well, I kind of saw that same thing with auditing. It's a very tough position to have internally and have colleagues and have relationships internally at City Hall. And I think this could be a really great model for us to have this external partner. And I also think we kind of look at the success of that partnership sometimes by saying, hey, you brought home more money than you cost. I think that's been referenced many times here from the days. And I would like to start looking at the tasks that we give our auditing partner in kind of the same way. We expect you to go in, find risk, minimize risk, but also find funds as well, which both were able to give examples where they did that for other municipalities. I don't feel that there was anything that stood out to me in these presentations to not go with how they are ranked here by staff. So I'll be in favor of going with the number one ranked firm.
Okay. Commissioner Burns, anything?
Yes, I just wanted to add that, not being familiar with what has happened in the past, and just going by the only experience that I've had as the treasurer for my sorority, that outside model seems to be a great fit and works a lot better than internal. So I agree with Commissioner Boyston. And I, too, will go with the top rank from our staff.
Okay. Commissioner Frankel?
I want to hear Mr. Long, because he'll be here next year, and I know I'm not.
I don't really have much to add from what my colleagues said. I think you guys nailed it. and I want to make sure we get through this meeting quick. So I agree with the staff ranking as well, even though we had two great presentations. Thank you.
Frankel?
Two or three of my colleagues will be here, and I've heard them speak, so I'll be supporting their decision.
Well, I have to say I differ. First of all, I think that the previous auditor that we had was not an internal, like our auditor. She was hired by the commission, and she answered to the commission, which is obviously the same thing that were happening. It's just it was a one-person, local person versus outside. I lean towards the first presentation because I think that there is something to be said to having somebody that's very close and able to be right here, understanding what's going on in our area versus being in a different state, in a very different climate, very different state. I think that there wasn't enough to draw me to, there wasn't enough of a difference to make me feel like one stood out better than the other. So I'm looking at it from the standpoint of who is more accessible, local, understands, can respond to, the issues that you all are going to have in the future. Again, I'm with Commissioner Commissioner Frankel in that I'm not going to be here in a couple of months. And I do want to support it, but I think that you all have to think about the accessibility and having that one-on-one time frame and with your auditor is, I think, very important. And like I said, I don't think that there's a big enough difference. There is a difference in the price. However, one's doing it more on it's going to be a contractual scale because you're going to start with that initial audit. So it may actually be that the second group is less expensive overall. I don't know. You just, it's hard to determine that. So I can't look at that pricing and say that that's the thing that would cause me to go in one direction or another. I just think that local local part of it is really important, and it was when we had our auditor that was here previous. So that would be my best input to you guys that will be here beyond the March date in which I will be leaving.
Well, the one or two meetings that I did meet was done via Zoom anyway, so I didn't get that, that.
You're talking about with the previous auditor?
The previous auditor, yeah.
Was she here with you here? Yeah?
Yeah, I did
Wow.
get to meet her in two meetings.
Because, I think she's been gone for like 4 years, it felt like.
No. She
All
was
right.
part-time and.
All right, well, I guess maybe it just felt like there wasn't really a whole lot going on, so.
Right. She was
maybe.
full-time and then she was part-time, then she was
Maybe that's
contracting
what
and
it
kind
is.
of phased away.
Yeah, there you go.
I really do.
Yeah.
You make a lot of great points. For me, what outweighs it is that just economy of scale, benefiting from having a larger partner with better practices in the technology component and some of those internals that they have in regards to the systems that we have here, that we have problems with all the time, that Tyler, that they have people that specialize in that used to work for Tyler. Like, I 100% agree with some of the comments you made, Mayor. I just think that kind of outweighs it for me. So,
Got it.
I would make a motion to negotiate a contract with the top-ranked firm for the provision of internal auditing services.
Sorry, what did you
Plant
say?
Moran.
Name?
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Second.
All right. Motion's made and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Boylston.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia.
I'm going to say no, just because of the reasons that I put forth, but I think you've got it.
Mr. Frankel.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Congratulations. And,
I'll just, go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Just wanted to close it out with a statement.
Oh, sure,
here for
absolutely. Go right
negotiation.
ahead. I'm sorry.
So the decision of the City Commission will be publicly noticed in Periscope S2G. Purchasing will put together a negotiation team to reach out to the top-ranked firm and potentially negotiate any fees, confirm the scope, and draft any agreement. The next step, if we are successful in negotiating an agreement, we will present the draft agreement back to the City Commission for consideration for approval of award. The cone of silence is still in effect. The remainder of this, this is a reminder to monitor Periscope S2G for any and all updates to the solicitation process. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you both for coming in. We appreciate your time today and great presentations on both of your behalfs. And I know that hopefully we're going to negotiate and things will work out great. And, and thank you again for doing a great presentation. All right, meeting adjourned.